Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Reports today show that the French manufacturing PMI has fallen to a 38-month low in July. This comes as President Francois Hollande has slammed car manufacturer Peugeot's plans to cut 8,000 jobs, branding the cuts unacceptable, not only accusing the group of hiding its intentions, but also stating that the government will step in order to renegotiate the layoff deal. 2 months in, and it appears that Hollande's honeymoon with the electorate could be over. Joining me on the phone once again is Philippe Waechter from Natixis Asset Management in Paris. Philippe, how much room to manoeuvre does Hollande have in France's current economic situation, particularly off the back of this PMI data?
This morning we had very interesting data from PMI for sure, and from INSEE too, who gave his business cycle indicator this morning, and both of them point to a probable recession at the end of this spring and at the beginning of this summer. So we are in a very weak situation in France. There is a strong change in their mind of the economic outlook, and at the same time, they've changed their mind of what to do. Francois Hollande arrived with this growth compact in mind, and now what we feel is that in this year and specifically next year, we will have an austerity program with a large cut in expenses, but mainly a large increase in taxes for companies, for households, and this will change the picture in France. And with this number this morning, we feel that probably we will have a weak hand for 2012 and probably a very weak economic data, a very weak economic situation in 2013, and that's what bothers us and bothers me clearly today.
Comparisons are already being made with his conservative, more business-friendly predecessor Nicolas Sarkozy. None more so than last week when France announced that it would end tax breaks on overtime work and raise wealth tax, marking the deconstruction of two cornerstones of Sarkozy's economic policy. Will Hollande's middle-class voters now be regretting their choice?
Well, I think that the elimination of tax break on the overtime is a good measure. You know, it was a kind of opportunity for everyone in this situation, and it has a large cost for the state revenue. So it's probably the good measure. You have to take measures to improve competitiveness, and in fact we are close to what is starting in Italy with an adjustment on fiscal policy and an adjustment on the competitiveness to improve the economic outlook. And that's really new from what we knew from Francois Hollande, the government program when he wanted to be elected.
Despite needing to find 33 billion euros to meet European deficit targets in 2013, Hollande has stated that he will not be raising VAT. It's also thought that the new transaction tax, which comes into play in August of this year, will simply cause investors to seek loopholes in this legislation. Hollande's mantra of change now appears to have become be patient, as he focuses his attention on unemployment and growth. But where is the capital for this growth going to come from?
That's what he said during his campaign, that he wanted to improve, to increase, and to build tax on financial transactions. We have to keep in mind that in the Francois Hollande program, there is also wish to improve income distribution. You know, the feeling of Francois Hollande is that income distribution in France, after-tax income distribution, as a kind of bias, and so he wanted to reduce this bias, and so he has increased taxes for high income, and we have discussion on the 75% tax level for very high income, and he wanted to increase. To create a tax on financial transactions, just because he thinks that banks and financial institutions are not taxed enough on their transaction, and it can be. He thinks that it can lead to a destabilization on the real economy.
Hollande has also said that he feels lonely as the only left-winger in a right-wing president's club amongst the Euro nations. Is this a fair comment, do you think? And how does this bode for future efforts to solve the European debt crisis?
For the moment, the French government doesn't really want to cooperate in that case. You know, we saw that at the Brussels summit at the end of June. We saw that his wish on the banking union warned the party against a more cooperative, more federalist framework for Europe. So I think that Francois Hollande still thinks that the European situation can be improved with standard tools, with the ESM, with the EFSF, and maybe with the ECB. But I don't think for the moment that his wish is to have a more federal structure for Europe. That's something that could change in the future. But for the moment, he doesn't want to go to a more federalist framework for Europe, and that's exactly something he has to develop because clearly, with what we see currently in Spain or in Italy, something will have to change probably in his mind on Europe.
Philippe, that's all we've got time for right now, but you've certainly given us a lot to think about there. Thank you. Coming up this week on Dukascopy TV, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the Russian ruble, as well as all of the latest on the Reserve Bank of New Zealand's rate decision. For now, though, goodbye.